and I've got a bit of theory on this though, is that all the reports are still Arsenal are sort of deciding between Gyokeres and Sesko. They're not quite sure. And that's a bit annoying because I'm thinking, how could you not know? But then having said that, I think they do know.
I think they do.
I think it's all mind games. I think Sesko's the guy.
I think
that's who they want. And Gyokeres is being used.
Okay,
to get the
why the
deal.
mind games? If you know, you see, this is where I do have an issue. If you know Sesko is the man you want, why are we beating around the bush? Get Sesko, get him in for pre-season.
Do you want me to give you a reason why, right?
Please
so let's look at it this way, right? You're over at RB Leipzig, right? And a German club in the Bundesliga, you're seeing Wirtz going for £125 million is what the figure they're quoting on that. So they may be looking at it and thinking, oh, you know what? Well, we were going to look to get 65, 70, Wirtz is going for that. They got a lot of money in that Premier League. Let's see if we can bump that price up. Let's see if we can maybe get 85, 90 million for him. By Arsenal keeping alive, this is my theory, by Arsenal then saying, no, actually, well, you go with any madness like that, we'll go Gyokeres instead. That focuses their mind as well, thinking, all right, well, we don't really want to lose out on this deal either. You know what I mean? So there are reasons for some of these things sometimes. It's not as clear cut as what we think, where we're just like, go and get him. There's negotiations
I do kind of
after
agree
that.
with that. And I also think the other element is, I don't think Berta and Arteta don't want Gyokeres. I think they'd happily sign Gyokeres if that's the better deal, or you know, for whatever reason. I think one of the things Berta has to readdress is the expectation of business you do with Arsenal, which is like, if you want to buy our players, they're going to cost you money. We're not letting them go for 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. And if we want to buy your player, we're not just going to spend the money just because, you know, you're bumping up for the sake of it.
Yeah, you've got to have your options.
Gentleman's agreement. We're actually going to talk about all this in a little bit more detail.
If I could just...
I imagine that's what Berta's doing.
I hear what you're saying, but it does smack to me of procrastination. To me, you would have done your due diligence on the two players, yeah? You know what strengths they bring, both of them. You know which one, and I'm talking about Berta and Arteta and the rest of the hierarchy. You know which ones align with the values you want going forward. So to me, it just makes sense to just say, right, you are the man. And that is so impressive as well, to approach the player and say, look, Sesko, you are the man we want. Or
how do you know they ain't done that?
Because we're there talking about either or. I'm saying, identify who you want and go for it.
To me that
is
then
it?
It's obvious.
Why is it obvious?
All right, so I'll give you... Number one, it's been widely reported that they've already been negotiating with Sesko. Number two, Slovenia, he's their main man, right? They've just played a couple of games in qualifying and also friendly. He was left out of the squad, right? He left out of the squad, obviously, because, you know, RB Leipzig don't want him to get injured. Negotiations are going on. But you've got to keep your options open as well. Suppose it falls through. Right, suppose it fall through, then at least if you flat reject Gyokeres and say we're not interested or whatever, and then that falls through, then what? So you've got to leave, you know what I mean?
Suppose another club's coming for Sesko then, meanwhile, and then they bump up the price there.
Well, that can happen. But it's all about, it's called negotiation, isn't it? And this is what happens in transfers. And this is why, like, it's not as straightforward sometimes as we think. And and as I said, I understand why nobody's more frustrated than me in January. We didn't sign anyone. I thought that was crazy. But I understand that. But I do feel that people are getting a bit carried away. The window's only been open for 11 days.
Well, I'll tell you
Who did we do in 11 days last year or the year before?
Yeah, but that's the problem. You can't judge it by other years because we've been poor in transfer windows. We need to be proactive.
I'll tell you what my line is though, Laurie and Robbie. I'm not going to honestly shed 1% of panic until pre-season tour starts. Like, I'm not going to... The minute pre-season tour starts...
I agree.
And we don't have the players in, that's it. I'm on.
No, 100%, because you've got to get those players in for pre-season. Liverpool's initial offer for Wirtz was 105 million. They're already up on 125. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about, Laurie.
To end this kind of Gyokeres Sesko segment, and we'll go through super chats. Laurie says something there that I do agree with. If, and it's an if, Arsenal are behind the scenes dithering over who they want, that would piss me off to no ends. Because what do you mean you don't know on the 12th of June who your favourite is of those two strikers? However, I don't think that's what it is. I think that's what was being briefed to us, to the media, to keep Gyökeres sweet, to keep Leipzig on their toes. I think they want Sesko. Everything from wanting him a year ago to trying to bring it forward in January to the fact that Sky Germany and others are saying Sesko's the one they're talking about. Interesting, The Athletic have talked about Gyökeres, and I always think when The Athletic get hold of something, there's a little bit more to it. They haven't really talked about Sesko, not that much, but I think Sesko's the one they want. But let's wait and see. But I agree with you. If they really are behind the scenes scratching their heads going, oh, well, I don't know, that would really annoy me, because just pay what it is for the guy you actually want. But I don't think that's what's happening.
Main thing for me is they get a striker, right? One of the two. Just get one of those two names, right? Because we need a striker.
Yeah, completely agree. Wayne says, why the hell is there panic when the actual transfer window isn't even open yet? Thank you for your super chat, Wayne. It had opened, it's now shut. But we live in a world where the work of other clubs is going to have an overspill on how we feel about.
But two of those clubs, as I said, that have been doing all of the work to get these players desperately in so fast, are two teams where we know the reason why. They're in the Club World Cup, right? If you take them two out of it, who else has really done much business?